All right, I wanted to do this video for a long time, and it's so important because I'm working as a marriage counselor a lot, and the recurring problem has to do most of the time with the in-laws. So if you're married and you have in-laws where you have problems with, and I'm talking even more to Sfardim, even more to BUKHARIANS. This is a problem that exists in the whole world, but even more in the Bukharian community. So I want you really to listen to that, you and your husband, and the in-laws should listen to that, and the parents should listen to that. It's what the Torah wants. This is the right way. Every therapist, every psychologist, every person, marriage counselor will tell you the same thing. So I want to read to you a few things. First, it says in the Talmud that naturally there is a natural hatred. Obviously, it's not all the time, but there's a natural fight that starts happening between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, and the daughter usually. But obviously, it's just one case. But the in-laws with the children, or the parents with the children, and therefore we know there's already a problem there that needs to be fixed. There's the emotional challenge, and we're going to read a bit about it. So one, I want to read to you from Lisa Aiken, PhD, and Dr. Abraham Twersky, a psychologist, psychiatrist. So they say like that: it takes times for most couples to get used to their in-laws, and many in-laws find the transition equally difficult. Adult children want their parents to see them as adults, while their parents may find that realization painful. They may fear that their child will no longer need or want them, their advice or their love, and may blame a new spouse when this separation happens. Parents also want to be sure that their son or daughter-in-law will always treat their child well. If parents feel their child is being shortchanged, parents can be rejecting or critical of the spouse. So obviously we see that natural emotional electric experience comes from something natural. Because of someone we love, we want to protect them. So they were biased. The parents and the in-laws are biased. So she continues and says, despite the fact that problems with the in-laws were once considered to be the third major reason for divorce, few singles consider their impact before marriage. We don't think so much about it before marriage. In the Bukharian communities, they are incredible at kibbutz, and they love the parents. They respect the parents like almost nobody else. And by Sfardim is very strong, but we don't think when we get married of the impact of the challenge that can come, and we have to really understand what's this transition stage. So while many in-laws are wonderful and fully accept new members of their family, others are nasty and critical, intrusive, or offensive. Some parents have such a hard time separating from their children, and vice versa, that they pit the child against his or her spouse and interfere with raising the grandchildren. Some newlyweds realize only too late how intertwined a spouse is with his or her parents, and that's something that it's very challenging, and that sometimes, right, Twersky says they don't even know that they're doing that. It comes from natural emotional stimuli because of the marriage. So when a couple gets married, their primary emotional bond and loyalty should be to their spouse, not to their parents. The Torah expressed this by saying, okay, this is a passage from the Torah, and that's where we learn that there is a challenge. It says, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and cling unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And he specifically speaks about the man. So for men, usually there's a higher challenge, but because there's a higher challenge, it can be that the effect goes on the wife. But the Torah goes out of its way to say, you gotta leave, you gotta detach, You got to make a break. Doesn't mean you have to disrespect them, the country, and that you have to leave them. It means you need to make a clear cut that now this is my wife, number one, my husband, number one, and you are second. And I respect you, I love you, but she's gonna be number one. And some parents wreak havoc on the marriage by manipulating their child or trying to divide and conquer the couple. These parents are desperate to keep their child's loyalty and dependence and feel threatened by the child replacing them with a spouse. So it is as you see, something that is naturally coming if we are not careful about it. So so we'll go to the next book. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Listen to that. This is very important. So how do you deal with parents and in-laws with like that? So the Torah says that we must honor and fear our parents, or be in awe of our parents. It doesn't say that we must like or love them. Obviously, be a part of Yira, of honoring your parents, is showing love, and you'll love your parents anyway. But it's the reason the Torah precise honor and be in awe and fear your parents is for that specific reason, because there is that challenge. We must act and speak respectfully to them, but not let them abuse us or ruin our marriages. So, a wife's first loyalty is to her husband, not to her parents. And same thing for the men. So if a wife thinks that her husband is being unduly possessive or unreasonable, they should discuss this with a rabbi, a therapist. So you have a problem, go speak to the therapist, go speak to the rabbi. You cannot discuss it with your parents. With your parents, you only discuss good things. By the way, great book to have. It's called Guide to the Romantically Perplexed by Lisa Aiken. I really recommend it. It has a lot of great things. Now we're going to Rabbi Avram Tversky, also very good. It's called The First Year of Marriage. Let me read you what he says. It is also important to realize that for many years, parents may have considered their primary purpose in life to be taking care of their children, especially in Jewish families. In BUKHARIANS, they want for Sfardim. The woman wants to be the home, wants to be the mother. Today, there's more and more that work, but it's still sometimes one of the main goal in life. So we are familiar with the empty nest syndrome, the emotional state following the marriage of the youngest child, where some parents become depressed because they think of themselves as useless if they have no one to look after. This is not as severe when there are still younger children at home, but each child leaving the house has an impact. So we have to understand. It's not that we have to, say you're crazy, you have a problem. No, that's an emotional thing. This is a human reaction, and we have to be aware of it and have to deal with it. So the worst thing one can do is put the spouse into a conflict of loyalty, causing them to choose between the spouse and the parents. This is a needless and destructive tug of war that can cause resentment on the part of everyone. Never, but never, make any disparaging remarks about your in-laws, not even as a joke. You understand that? Don't say anything that could be negative or even as a joke. You may think it is funny, but it may appear offensive to your spouse. Remember, halakha requires that one respect and honor not only one's parents, but also one's parents-in-law. So, what we're saying is that, yes, we need to create boundaries, and we need to tell our parents or in-laws, okay, you cannot interfere anymore in our couples or in our problems or in our life. And sometimes you say means we need to distance yourself. That's fine. You can say we see each other too much. You're coming to our house too much. You're calling too much. We need more space. You are hurting our marriage, and if you're hurting our marriage, we're going to distance ourselves from you. We love you, we respect you, we want to be in touch with you, but you need to respect our a healthy relationship, and because if you're hurting it, we're going to have to disconnect. And we have to understand that yes, your mother and your father, or they took care of you, for so many years, but they build their life, they build their family, they build their life. Now you have a new life, you're building your own life, and you cannot build your own life with your parents. Being dependent on your parents is, you're not making a favor to your parents. The role of a parent is to make their children independent so that they can live on their own without the need for papi and mommy. And sometimes we have in-laws that keep their kids attached because of money or other different reasons. This is very destructive, and the kids have to do as much as they can to be completely independent. No need for financial, or no need for anything, so that it cannot be used as a manipulation, as a tool to control the one child or the couple. So really listen to that again. Understand this needs to be really worked out and understood within the whole community of with the parents and the in-laws, especially by Sephardim. And if you do that and you respect them and tell them very nicely and that they need to stay away, then they will understand it. If they cannot understand it, then you have to take stronger measure, and until they are willing to live by your rules. Sometimes it happens, that's extreme cases, where you have to say to your parents, we have to separate for a few months, for a year, until you're willing to respect the way we live. So I encourage all of you to review those lessons and understand them and learn to create the healthy boundaries necessary for your couples to be healthy. Your couples, your marriage is the most important thing in the world. There's nothing more important. It comes before everything. And if you don't have a happy couple, you have nothing. And you are not only going to destroy your couple, you're going to destroy your own life, and you destroy the dream that your parents had that you live a happy life. So take that very seriously and make the change necessary.